Bullies cut Nerd's glasses in half. Wrong move. He was a karate champion. Kieran Holloway pushed his thick glasses up his nose as he navigated Jefferson High's crowded hallways. His lanky frame folded inward as he clutched his backpack, hoping to blend into the lockers. At 5'6" and barely 130 pounds, Kieran had perfected invisibility over 3 years at Jefferson. Well, 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 look what we have here. Kieran's stomach dropped. Braxton Reeves blocked the hallway ahead, his 6-foot frame casting shadows over smaller students. With blonde hair, expensive sneakers, and a Letterman jacket advertising his quarterback status, Braxton commanded attention. Behind him stood Cody Walsh, red hair matching his temper, and Tyler Fontaine, compensating for average height with designer clothes and oversized ego. "Morning, Four Eyes," Braxton grinned coldly. "Trying to sneak by? That's not friendly." Kieran tried stepping around them, but Cody blocked his path. "Where's the rush, nerd? We just want to chat." The hallway cleared as students hurried to class, leaving Kieran isolated. He'd learned long ago that no one would intervene. "I don't want trouble," Kieran whispered. "I need to get to class." Tyler laughed harshly. "Trouble? We're being social." Braxton stepped closer, expensive cologne overwhelming. "I've been thinking about our friendship, Kieran. We don't spend enough quality time together." For 2 years, since Braxton noticed him during dodgeball, the bullying had become ritual. It started small, but grew like infection until Kieran's days revolved around avoiding encounters. "Mr. Henderson gets mad when students are late," Kieran tried. "Henderson can wait," Braxton said, snatching Kieran's chemistry textbook and holding it high. "Jump for it, grasshopper." Heat flooded Kieran's cheeks as students watched. He could jump and entertain them, or stand his ground and face consequences. Neither appealed. What none knew was that Kieran had studied martial arts since age 7. 3 times weekly, he took the bus to Master Chen's dojo, spending 10 years perfecting techniques that could drop men twice his size. His black belt hung secretly in his closet. But Kieran had promised his mother he'd never use his skills unless someone's life was endangered. After his father died in a car accident when Kieran was 12, his mother worked double shifts to pay for karate lessons, believing they'd build confidence. She made him swear his training was for self-improvement, not solving problems with violence. "I'm waiting." Braxton shook the book tauntingly. Kieran gave a half-hearted hop, nowhere near reaching it. The crowd snickered. "Pathetic," Tyler muttered. "My sister could jump higher." The bell rang. Braxton tossed the book at Kieran's feet, pages scattering. "Better hurry, Four Eyes. Wouldn't want to be late." During lunch, Kieran found refuge in the library. He sat with his brown bag, trying to complete homework while surrounded by towering bookshelves. Mrs. Patterson kindly pretended not to notice students eating, understanding some needed escape from the cafeteria's social jungle. "Is this seat taken?" Kieran looked up to see Zelda Martinez with a lunch tray and gentle smile. Dark hair in a ponytail, warm brown eyes that actually saw him as a person rather than target. Zelda was one of few students showing him genuine kindness. "Oh, no," Kieran stammered, moving books. "Please sit." Zelda had transferred to Jefferson this year. Unlike most new students finding social circles quickly, she remained enigmatic. Pretty enough for popular crowds, smart enough to intimidate academics, kind enough for easy friendships, yet content floating between groups without commitment. "Hiding from the cafeteria circus?" she asked, unwrapping a sandwich. "Something like that, you?" "I prefer quiet. Plus, Mrs. Patterson lets me organize returned books. It's therapeutic." They ate silently, only soft page turning and distant heating system humming. Kieran stole glances, wondering what brought her to his table. "I saw what happened this morning," Zelda said quietly. "With Braxton and friends." Kieran's stomach twisted. "Oh." My dad always said bullies are cowards underneath. They pick on people they think won't fight back. Fighting back makes things worse, Kieran echoed his philosophy. Better to endure and hope they get bored. Zelda studied his face thoughtfully. Maybe, but sometimes people mistake kindness for weakness. Sometimes they need consequences. Something in her tone made Kieran look carefully. Steel lay beneath her gentle exterior. He wondered what experiences shaped her perspective. You seem like someone with more to offer than people realize. Before Kieran could ask what she meant, the bell rang. As they gathered belongings, Zelda touched his arm gently. If you need a friend, I'm usually here during lunch. Kieran watched her leave, feeling hope for the first time in years. Someone finally saw him as more than victim or target. The feeling carried him through afternoon classes. But good feelings at Jefferson had short lifespans. Tuesday brought fresh humiliation during biology. Tyler accidentally knocked over pond water, sending murky liquid cascading across Kieran's desk, soaking notebook and textbook. Oops, Tyler said innocently. Maybe sit closer to the front where you can see. The class snickered while Kieran sat dripping. Mrs. Rodriguez shot Tyler a warning but made no move to help. Accidents happen, she said dismissively. Clean that up and salvage what you can. The pattern continued all week. Braxton bumped him in hallways, sending books flying. Cody made loud comments about his appearance. Tyler sabotaged possessions during shared classes. Each incident was small enough to avoid consequences, but large enough to chip away dignity. Friday brought the week's crescendo in the cafeteria. Kieran decided to brave it, tired of hiding in the library, when Braxton's crew spotted him in line. "Hey, Four Eyes!" Braxton called loudly. "Save some food for the rest of us." The comment made no sense. Kieran was among the skinniest students, but logic wasn't required for effective bullying. As Kieran tried ignoring the taunt, Cody accidentally bumped his elbow. The tray tilted, chicken sandwich, chocolate milk, and fruit cup tumbling to the floor with a crash silencing conversations. Chocolate milk splashed across shoes and legs while his sandwich disintegrated. "Butterfingers," Tyler commented loudly. "Maybe you need stronger glasses." Cafeteria staff looked annoyed but unsympathetic as Kieran knelt cleaning up. Other students stepped around him, some shaking heads in embarrassment, others laughing openly. By the time he'd cleaned and gotten replacement lunch, only 10 minutes remained. Kieran sat alone, picking at his sandwich and ignoring continued snickers from Braxton's table. He felt lower than in months, questioning whether finishing high school was worth this daily humiliation. Rough day? Zelda stood with her tray, expression sympathetic but not pitying. "You could say that," he replied gratefully. She sat without invitation. "I've been thinking about what we discussed, about bullies and consequences." "What about it?" "My dad said some people only understand one language. They keep pushing until they hit something that pushes back." Kieran stared at his sandwich. Fighting back escalates things. Does it? Or does it just feel like it would because you've never tried? Before Kieran could respond, commotion at Braxton's table caught attention. The quarterback was retelling Kieran's cafeteria mishap with exaggerated gestures and sound effects, drawing laughs and pointed looks. "He's enjoying himself," Zelda observed with new edge. "He usually does." What would happen if someone wiped that smirk off his face? The loaded question made Kieran's pulse quicken. He studied Zelda's face, seeing new hardness, suggesting she'd dealt with difficult people. "I don't know. I've never tried. Maybe it's time to find out." That evening, Kieran stared at his black belt hanging like a secret weapon he feared using. His mother's words echoed, "Violence should be last resort, only when someone's life is in danger." But was there difference between violence and self-defense? He thought about daily humiliations, constant anxiety, planning routes through school like military strategy. Most of all, how other students looked through him, barely acknowledging his existence. Saturday at Master Chen's dojo, his usual focus scattered. As he worked through kata, precise movements usually bringing peace felt charged with new possibility. "Your mind is elsewhere today," Master Chen observed. The elderly instructor read students beyond watching techniques. "I've been thinking about something you taught us," Kieran said carefully, "about martial arts being for protection, not aggression. And what if someone keeps pushing you, but it's not life-threatening? What if they're making your life miserable daily?" Master Chen was quiet, weathered hands folded behind his back. "The strongest warriors know when to fight and when to walk away. But there comes a time when walking away means surrendering your dignity, your peace, your right to exist without fear. When that time comes, a true martial artist acts not from anger or revenge, but from centered strength. How do you know when that time has come?" "You'll know," Master Chen said simply. "Your heart will tell you when enough is enough." Monday arrived with promise of another week of routine, but something felt different as Kieran walked through Jefferson's doors. Maybe weekend training, maybe Master Chen's words, or maybe 3 years of accumulated humiliation reaching a tipping point. Whatever the cause, he carried himself differently, shoulders straighter, gaze more direct. The change was subtle, but Zelda noticed. She caught his eye across the hallway and nodded slightly, sensing the shift. The gesture filled him with unexpected confidence. First and second periods passed without incident, but third period gym brought Kieran face to face with tormentors where supervision was minimal and accidents easy. Coach Martinez divided class into basketball teams. Through bad luck or manipulation, Kieran found himself guarding Braxton. The quarterback outweighed him 50 pounds with 6 inches height advantage. "Try to keep up, Four Eyes," Braxton taunted, easily dribbling around for uncontested layup. "This might be your speed." He threw the ball at Kieran with unnecessary force, hitting his chest hard enough to knock him back. Some teammates laughed, others looked uncomfortable with the obvious mismatch. The pattern continued. Braxton scored easily, then threw balls too hard or accidentally bumped during play. Coach Martinez focused elsewhere, missing most harassment. During water break, Kieran stood near equipment closet when Cody and Tyler approached. "Having fun, nerd?" Cody asked, breathing hard. "Really showing athletic skills," Tyler added. "Braxton's going easy." Kieran said nothing, focusing on his water bottle. As he turned back to court, Tyler stuck out his foot, sending Kieran stumbling into exercise mats. "Oops," Tyler said with fake concern. "Careful, butterfingers." The minor humiliation triggered something deep in Kieran's chest. For a moment, he imagined grabbing Tyler's ankle and sending him crashing instead. The image was so vivid, so satisfying, it scared him. Lunch found him back in the library with Zelda, who sensed his agitation. "Rough morning?" she asked. "Gym class," he said simply. She nodded knowingly. "The worst. No supervision, lots of accident opportunities." "How do you know?" "I've been to other schools. Bullies are the same everywhere. They adapt methods to environments." Kieran noted again that steel beneath surface. "What did you do about it?" "Depends. Sometimes outsmart them, sometimes get creative, and sometimes—" She paused. "Sometimes show them I wasn't as helpless as they thought." "What happened?" "Let's say they learned to leave me alone." She met his eyes directly. "What are you going to do about your situation?" Before Kieran could answer, the library door burst open. Braxton strode in with his entourage. Mrs. Patterson looked up with obvious annoyance. "This is a quiet zone, gentlemen," she said firmly. "Conduct business elsewhere." "Sorry, Mrs. P," Braxton said with exaggerated politeness. "We need to borrow Four Eyes for a minute. Important stuff to discuss." Kieran's stomach dropped. The library had always been sanctuary, his safe space. Braxton's presence felt like violation. Mr. Holloway is welcome to speak if he chooses, Mrs. Patterson said carefully, but this is for quiet study. Of course, Braxton agreed. Kieran, buddy, can we have a word? Outside. Every instinct told Kieran to refuse, stay safe until the bell rang. But he felt Zelda's eyes, sensed her silent challenge. More importantly, something new stirred in his chest, not just fear, but anger at having his refuge invaded. Fine, he said quietly, gathering things. Actually, Zelda interjected, I was hoping Kieran could help with something. We have a group project next period. Tyler laughed. What project requires a loser like him? The casual cruelty directed at both him and Zelda for defending him pushed Kieran past another boundary. Let's go, he said, standing with unexpected force. Get this over with. Braxton's eyebrows rose at the assertiveness, but his grin widened. That's the spirit, Four Eyes. Come on. They moved to a secluded area behind school near the maintenance building, where teachers rarely ventured and cameras couldn't reach. Kieran had been here before, Braxton's preferred spot for serious business away from witnesses. So here's the thing, Braxton began, leaning against brick wall casually. I've been thinking about our relationship. It's gotten stale. We need to spice things up. Cody and Tyler flanked Kieran, cutting off escape routes. Their positioning was casual but effective, years of practice intimidating smaller students. What do you want? Kieran asked, surprised by his steady voice. What I want, Braxton said, pushing off the wall and stepping closer, is for you to understand your place in Jefferson's social order. You've been too comfortable lately. Sitting with that new girl, walking around like you belong somewhere other than the bottom. I haven't done anything to you. That's wrong, Four Eyes. Your entire existence does something to me. You make this place less aesthetically pleasing. You lower our educational environment's quality, Tyler snickered. Plus, you smell like pond water. So here's what's happening, Braxton continued. You're providing entertainment, a demonstration of exactly where you stand in the hierarchy. He reached into his jacket and pulled out heavy-duty scissors, the kind used in art classes. Metal gleamed dully in afternoon sunlight. Those are pretty thick glasses, Braxton mused, opening and closing scissors deliberately. I bet they're expensive. I bet your mom worked extra shifts to pay for them. Kieran's blood went cold. His glasses weren't just expensive, they were essential. Without them, he was practically blind. More than that, they'd been his father's last gift, purchased weeks before the car accident that changed everything. Don't, he said quietly. Don't what? Braxton asked innocently. I'm just admiring your eyewear. Very intellectual. But you know what would look better? He stepped forward quickly, and before Kieran could react, one strong hand grabbed his shirt, while the other positioned scissors near his face. I think you'd look great with half glasses. Very avant-garde. The scissors snapped once, twice, 3 times rapidly. Kieran felt weight disappear from his nose as glasses fell to ground in pieces. Frames cracked, one lens completely severed, the other spiderwebbed with fractures. The world immediately became a blur of shapes and colors. Kieran dropped to his knees, frantically feeling for pieces of destroyed glasses, finding only fragments of plastic and glass. Oops, Braxton said with mock concern. Butterfingers strikes again. You should be more careful. Cody and Tyler's laughter seemed distant. Kieran knelt on concrete, holding broken pieces of his father's gift, and felt something fundamental shift inside his chest. It wasn't just anger, it was cold, focused clarity cutting through years of accumulated fear and humiliation. You know what's funny? Braxton continued, not noticing the atmospheric change. Now you really can't see what's coming. This is like beating up a blind kid. That was when Kieran's heart told him that enough was enough. He stood slowly, still holding broken glasses, and turned toward the 3 bullies. Without lenses, their faces were indistinct blurs, but he didn't need clear sight. He'd memorized their voices, postures, exact positions through years of forced observation. "You made a mistake," Kieran said quietly. Something in his tone made Braxton's laughter falter. "What did you say?" "You made a mistake," Kieran repeated, setting broken glasses carefully on a nearby windowsill. "These were my father's glasses." Tyler stepped forward aggressively. "So what, nerd? Daddy's not here to protect you now." The comment was meant to hurt, but instead completed Kieran's transformation. All restraint, all reasons for avoiding confrontation, all promises to his mother. They evaporated facing this final, unforgivable violation. Kieran's body moved with fluid precision, honed by years of training. His right foot swept Tyler's legs in perfect ashibarai, sending the redhead crashing to concrete with surprised yelp. Before Tyler could process what happened, Kieran pivoted toward Cody. The larger boy swung wild haymaker that Kieran easily ducked, using Cody's momentum against him with textbook hip throw that sent him tumbling into brick wall. The sound of Cody's shoulder hitting bricks echoed across empty courtyard. Braxton had just enough time to register shock before Kieran was on him. The quarterback was bigger and stronger, but size meant nothing against technique. Kieran slipped inside Braxton's guard, landed 3 lightning-fast punches to his solar plexus, then followed with perfectly executed foot sweep that sent the bigger boy crashing down. For a moment, the courtyard was silent, except for heavy breathing and Tyler's quiet groaning. Kieran stood over fallen tormentors, body coiled and ready, every sense heightened despite impaired vision. Braxton struggled to sit up, face a mask of disbelief and pain. "What the hell? You wanted to see what I was hiding," Kieran said calmly. "Congratulations, you found it." Cody clutched his shoulder, earlier swagger evaporated. Tyler remained on ground, trying to figure out how the world turned upside down. "This is impossible," Braxton wheezed, struggling to breathe. "You're a nerd. You don't fight." "You're right," Kieran agreed. "I don't fight. I've been training martial arts for 10 years, but I don't fight. I defend. There's a difference." He knelt so his face was level with Braxton's, close enough that even impaired vision could make out the quarterback's features clearly. "Here's what's happening," Kieran said quietly. "You're leaving me alone. You're leaving Zelda alone. You're finding something else to do besides making people miserable." "And if we don't?" Braxton asked, voice lacking usual confidence. Kieran smiled, and something in that expression made all 3 bullies shift uncomfortably. "Then you'll discover that what just happened was me being gentle." He stood and retrieved broken glasses from the windowsill, handling fragments with careful reverence. As he turned to leave, Tyler struggled to his feet. "This isn't over," the redhead called out, voice shaking slightly. Kieran paused and turned back. "Yes, it is. It's been over for 3 years. You just didn't know it until now." As he walked away, leaving the 3 bullies to contemplate their new reality, Kieran felt strange lightness in his chest, not satisfaction exactly, certainly not pleasure in their pain, but rather a sense of balance finally restored. He'd defended himself without becoming what he despised, shown strength without cruelty. The walk back to the main building was surreal. Students who noticed his broken glasses assumed he'd had an accident. Word would spread soon enough, but for now, he was content moving through hallways with quiet confidence he'd never felt before. He found Zelda waiting by his locker, expression concerned. "Are you okay? When you didn't come back to the library?" "I'm fine," he said, though broken glasses told different story. She studied his face carefully, noting something new in posture and expression. "What happened?" "They broke my father's glasses," he said simply. Understanding dawned in her eyes. And I made sure it won't happen again." A small smile played at her mouth corners. "How do you feel?" Kieran considered carefully. How did he feel? Not triumphant, not guilty, not angry. Just balanced. "Free," he said finally. The next few days brought subtle but unmistakable shift in Jefferson High's social dynamics. Braxton returned with carefully constructed skateboarding accident story, explaining bruised ribs and limping gait. Cody wore his arm in sling, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Tyler seemed jumpier, constantly looking over his shoulder. More importantly, none approached Kieran. When paths crossed in hallways, they gave wide berth, eyes sliding away from direct contact. The daily harassment gauntlet simply stopped. Other students began noticing the change. Kieran found himself receiving acknowledgement nods from classmates who'd previously treated him as invisible. Some seemed curious about what caused the shift. Others appeared to be recalculating social positions. During Thursday lunch, Kieran sat in the cafeteria for the first time in months, replacement glasses perched securely. Zelda joined him, as had become routine. "I heard interesting rumors yesterday," she said, unwrapping her sandwich. "Oh? Something about Braxton and crew getting their butts handed to them by the school's invisible nerd." She looked at him with obvious amusement. "Care to comment?" Kieran shrugged. "People talk. They're also saying maybe it's time to stop underestimating quiet ones. That maybe there's more to some people than meets the eye. That maybe bullying isn't as risk-free as some thought." Across the cafeteria, Braxton sat with usual crew, but dynamic had changed. The quarterback's commanding presence seemed diminished. Followers less confident in their leader's invincibility. Several students who'd previously orbited their table had found seating elsewhere. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," Kieran said quietly. "I just wanted them to stop." "And they have stopped," Zelda pointed out. "Mission accomplished." "Do you think I did the right thing?" Zelda was quiet, considering words carefully. "I think you did what you had to do. Sometimes people only understand consequences. Sometimes being kind and patient just teaches them they can get away with anything. But now I'm no better than they are." "Are you, though?" She leaned forward slightly. "Did you seek them out to hurt them? Did you humiliate them publicly? Did you destroy something with sentimental value just because you could?" Kieran shook his head. "Then you're nothing like them. You defended yourself when pushed past breaking point. That's not bullying, that's justice." Friday afternoon brought unexpected encounter as Kieran walked towards school exit. Braxton appeared in his path, but this time alone and posture different, less aggressive, more uncertain. "Can we talk?" the quarterback asked quietly. They walked to bench near main entrance, public space where conversation would be visible. Braxton sat carefully, wincing slightly. "I owe you an apology," he said finally. Kieran blinked in surprise. "You what?" "An apology. For the glasses, for all of it. I was wrong." "Why?" Kieran asked bluntly. "Because I fought back? Or because you were hurting someone who didn't deserve it?" Braxton was quiet, staring at his hands. "Both, I guess. I'm not making excuses, but things at home are complicated. My dad expects perfection, and when I'm not, he makes sure I know. Taking it out on you was easier than dealing with my problems." "So you made your problems into my problems?" "Yeah, and that was wrong." Braxton met his eyes directly. "I'm not asking forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I get it now. What I was doing to you, what that must have felt like." Kieran considered this unexpected development. Part of him wanted to reject the apology, to nurse anger and maintain clarity of victim and victimizer. But another part recognized something genuine in Braxton's words, vulnerability the quarterback had never shown. "What about Cody and Tyler?" "They'll leave you alone. Trust me, they're not eager for repeat performance." "And other students? The ones who might think they can fill the void you're leaving?" Braxton almost smiled. "Word gets around fast. Most people have figured out you're not as helpless as you look." He paused. "Can I ask something?" "Sure. How long have you been able to do what you did?" 10 years. 10 years. Braxton shook his head slowly. Why didn't you ever fight back before? Kieran thought about Master Chen's teachings, his mother's words, the promise to use skills only when absolutely necessary. Because I hoped I wouldn't have to. Because I wanted to believe people could change without being forced to. And now? Now I know sometimes they can't. Sometimes they need to experience consequences before understanding their actions affect real people. Braxton nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I think you showed more restraint than I would have. If someone had been messing with me for 3 years, you would have fought back on day one. Probably. Which might have made me feel better short term, but wouldn't have taught me anything. He stood carefully. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. As Braxton walked away, Kieran sat watching the usual Friday exodus toward weekend freedom. For the first time in 3 years, he felt truly part of that exodus, rather than just surviving until safe to leave. His phone buzzed with text from his mother. How was school today? Kieran started typing his usual fine response, then stopped. How was school today? How was it different now that he'd finally stood up for himself? Better than usual, he typed back. I'll tell you about it when I get home. Walking toward the bus stop, Kieran noticed Zelda waiting near school's front steps. She fell into step beside him, and they walked in comfortable silence. So, she said eventually, Braxton looked like he wanted serious conversation. He apologized. Really? How did that feel? Kieran considered. Weird. Good, but weird. I wasn't expecting it. Do you think he meant it? I think he meant it as much as someone like him can. Whether he's actually changed or just learned to be more careful. Kieran shrugged. Time will tell. They reached the bus stop where several other students waited. Kieran noticed a few nodded in his direction, not with pity or amusement, but with something approaching respect. The change in social status was subtle but unmistakable. You know, Zelda said quietly, you're different now. Not just because of what happened, but how you handled it. You could have really hurt them, but didn't. You could have humiliated them like they humiliated you, but chose not to. I'm not them, Kieran said simply. No, you're not. You're better. The bus arrived, and as they climbed aboard, Kieran caught his reflection in the window. The face looking back was the same he'd seen every morning for 3 years, but something fundamental had changed. His eyes held confidence that hadn't been there before, quiet strength from knowing he could protect himself and others when necessary. As Jefferson High receded in distance, Kieran thought about broken glasses in his backpack and new ones on his face. The old pair had carried his father's memory, but also his accumulated pain and humiliation. The new ones reflected light differently, offered clearer view of a world where he no longer had to live in fear. He'd learned that standing up for yourself didn't require becoming a bully, that strength could be used for protection rather than dominance, and that sometimes quiet ones had the most to offer when they finally found their voice. Most importantly, he'd discovered that respect, real respect, couldn't be demanded or taken by force. It had to be earned through actions demonstrating character rather than just power. Monday morning would bring new challenges and opportunities, but for the first time since starting at Jefferson High, Kieran Holloway looked forward to facing them with clear vision and quiet confidence. The scared, invisible boy who'd walked these halls for 3 years was still part of him, but no longer defined him. In his place stood someone who understood that true strength came not from ability to hurt others, but from wisdom to know when, how, and why to defend what mattered most. The lesson had been written in broken glasses and bruised egos, but the message was clear. Everyone deserved to feel safe, respected, and valued. Sometimes it took a demonstration of hidden strength to remind people of that fundamental truth. Sometimes the quiet ones had to roar before anyone would listen to their whisper. And sometimes, just sometimes, That was exactly what the world needed to hear.